Hello, Lars. Thanks for joining us on Smarter Markets at IETA's North America Climate Summit 2023.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. You know, a lot of conversation around carbon markets, and I was hoping you could walk us through what Chia is doing to help build out the market infrastructure that the carbon markets need.
Sure. Chia Network, we're building the Chia blockchain. It's a piece of technology. But any piece of technology is always a question of how can you use that? And how can you use that to actually solve problems, solve challenges? So in the case of the carbon market, some of the key issues that we're trying to focus on are around transparency, ease of using the markets, access to the markets, and just the general concept of how do you actually interact with carbon assets.
Right, and I wanted to ask you about some of the challenges because, you know, after a couple of years of strong growth, there have been a number of challenges in the carbon markets this past year. In the compliance markets, there's challenges to make the Article 6 markets under the Paris Agreement operational. In the voluntary carbon markets, challenges around quality, integrity, reputation in certain parts of the media. And I was curious, how is that influencing what you're doing or what the markets are asking you to do?
Very good questions. And I think the first key distinction to make is the challenges of a compliance market are very different than the challenges of a voluntary market. And I think most of the folks here, certainly our current focus is more on the voluntary side. And there, the concept of why companies are engaging in the voluntary market is generally out of a core belief that their company needs to be sustainable. Is not as a result of a government regulation or similar saying, you have to do this. And therefore, the way they spend money has to have value to them. And I think the core challenge that's being encountered by the carbon market now is that the way that the carbon market traditionally provided value to those entities that invest in sustainability projects, it needs to evolve. It needs to evolve to where we are now, where as a company, if I'm investing in a carbon project or if I'm investing in a sustainability or water or efficiency project, what is the value outside of getting the right kind of credibility and carbon tons or whatever it is from my accounting exercise? What is the value it brings to me, my customers, my employees, and so forth? And I think that story and how that's created, how that's verified and validated, and eventually made transparent is the key challenge of the market.
Right. And at conferences like this, it's great, lots of ideas on stage with the panels, lots of ideas being discussed in the hallway. I was curious, as you were coming to the conference, were there certain ideas that you wanted to bring to share with other participants? And over the past couple of days of the conference, are there any ideas that you want to take back with you to your work at Chia?
I think it's the difficulty of a conference like this is that the folks that are here, the folks that are presenting, are experts in their field. It is very, it is very enriching to go and listen to a lot of the folks that are presenting. The ultimate customers in this market, the ones that are paying for the sustainability and supporting the projects, are very far removed from these. Right? The job of the folks at this conference is to make stuff work, so they don't have to really worry about it. Right? Make it simple and make it work. And I think that's as we collectively and at this conference get into the weeds, get into figuring out 6.2, 6.4, how does it work, interactions with this, and that, and different standards and registries and blockchain or not, all those kind of things is how do you do that in a way that actually ends up simplifying it for the lay consumer, which is in this case really our companies, so they can just help create that path to go from where they are today to a more sustainable business model.
Right, it's like the analogy of people don't want to know how the electricity gets made, they just want the lights to come on when they flick the switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
And in terms of the flicking the switch and some of the challenges, you've got a great insight in the technological underpinnings and tools that are available. If there was something on either the standard side, technology, or tools that you could prioritize as we need to get this right over the next year if we really want to move these markets forward, is there a certain technology or tool or standards that you would say we need to be focused on?
I can tell you all kinds of things of why I think Chia is the best, but really I think the core message here is about opening up the ecosystem. The way the digital ecosystem was built for carbon very much was siloed because that's the way you solve for digital challenges 10, 15 years ago. Proprietary databases. And the opening up that digital ecosystem is what will allow for innovation. Right? If you allow for, as an example, a true digital asset, and it doesn't matter necessarily whether that's on Chia or a different blockchain, but if you allow for that true digital asset, me to have true custody of that, and me to allow certain interactions with that asset, now you're allowing for innovation. And that's really what needs to happen. A lot of innovation right now cannot take place because you have to interact with a bunch of different siloed databases. And that's where it stops.
Well, hopefully it won't stop there for long.
All right.
Thanks so much. We'll let you get back to the conference.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank you
taking
very
the time.
much.